Obviously, we've just watched the phenomenal Blood Games. But before we take it there, I would like to ask, you've had quite a varied career. So from modeling to being an actress to being a stunt woman. So going all the way back to the early days of your career, what pushed you into the realms of performance in general?
I think as a lot of little girls have dreams that they want to grow up and be, a model, an actress. That was something that was kind of in my head when I was really little. And it just kind of fell into my lap. I was actually working for the US government in secret and top secret think tanks. And while I was working there, I started to do a little bit of modeling, and that modeling ended up propelling me into winning. I won some acting lessons, and I decided to take the acting lessons, which I did. And so the modeling and the acting, and pretty much the modeling career started for me in Sydney, Australia, when I was modeling for Sea Folly. And just a quick little interesting note about Sea Folly, um, three of us girls were dressed by Australia's Sea Folly in that movie. So the clothes that three of us girls were wearing were all dressed by an Australian company.
Wow, so full circle here tonight, then I guess. Um,
Yeah.
just with Blood Games, it's such an interesting film because it's a part exploitation film, part 90s action thriller, and parts feminist survival horror. So, how did you originally become attached to this project?
Oh, to be honest with you, I don't remember. I had already done a string of films, and I'm sure it was just another audition from, my agent, and read for the role and got it and loved it. And I love action clearly. And when you're a young actress and you're trying to get into the business, you'll take any role pretty much that comes along, anything that's going to propel you to the next level. So this was actually one of the first films where I actually had the lead in the film. And of course, getting the lead in the film is very attractive.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's an oddball film in kind of the best way possible because it is very much a genre-oriented, revenge film, but it has a real feminist touch. And there are some great fist pump moments, of like feminist retribution. On the flip side, there's also, a very prolonged 20-minute communal shower scene in the film, which makes me wonder, with Tanya Rosenberg, was her, how did she become attached to this project? Because there's not a lot about her out there. And did you have many discussions with her about her overall vision for the film?
Honestly, back in those days, we didn't get any input. You were kind of told what you were going to do, what it was going to be. And, especially back in those days, and it's not the first sexually exploitive film that I had done. So, and, living in Australia, which I lived in Australia, there isn't such a sense of exploitation with the female body at that time when I was living in Australia as there, maybe is now. So I just rolled with it. I went with the flow. Whatever, we were told to do, we just did. And of course, they wanted to take the gratuitous scenes in the shower. It's all campy and boy stuff. So we all went with it.
Just working with Tanya Rosenberg, because she was like one of the very few kind of female like presences on that film as a creative, because you had five writers as well. How did she approach the material, and what was it like working with Tanya?
I actually loved working with her. I thought she was great, and she was an Israeli woman, and a lot of the people on the film crew were from Israel. And that was definitely my first, I think, and only time working with you know, a an Israeli based film crew. Um, she was all I can say, she was remarkable, and she was able to communicate everything with us, what she wanted, very well. It was definitely a fun project, female based, to work with so many amazing girls that I just love them. We all got along really, really well. Um, it's too bad that we've lost touch with Tanya. I have no idea what ended up happening to her after Blood Games, but she was a real honor and a real pleasure to work with and to work for.
Yeah, I mean, like touching on your relationship with, with the other girls in the film, it really feels like there are genuine kind of connections there. It does feel heartfelt. What was the relationship between yourself and the other cast members like? Did you find pretty strong bonds?
100%. I mean, they had rented us a big chalet out in the middle of the forest, and all the girls were camped out at the chalet, and we did everything together. We did aerobics together, we ate together. We were so bonded. Um, there was zero negative energy. We just were enjoying our experience, had so much fun together. We did everything together. And in fact, I'm still really good friends with Mary Reed and Lee Benton and Sabrina. I mean, we all stayed very close for many, many years. And like I said, I don't know where some of the other girls have gone to these days, but there was nothing negative about our relationship and a camaraderie amongst all the cast members. But you know, a lot of times when you get a bunch of women together, it can turn out to be pretty catty. Not in this case. That we were a family.
Where was this film actually shot? Because there's some beautiful locations in this.
It was shot in Fraser Lake, which is in California, which is about 45 miles above Fresno. And I know you guys probably don't know that whole vicinity, but it was up in the mountains, and it was a beautiful location. And yeah, so
Um,
pretty much like Central California.
like by the end of this film, like looking at the cast, it all looks like you've had the absolute shit beaten out of you. Like it looks like a particularly grueling shoot, or was it quite an easygoing shoot? What was it like?
No, it was pretty grueling. I mean, you know, we were working out in the elements, and um it was a grueling shoot. Um you know, but we just sucked it up and, you know, rolled with the punches. And you know, we had, I mean, and also we just had such a good time together. So, you know, it was just really easy for us to, you know, work through the rough patches and, you know, the cuts and scrapes and bruises and all that stuff.
You've also been in one of my other kind of favorite cult films, which is the Dr. Caligari film by Stephen Sayedian. I got to ask, like, what was it like working on that? Because though that film is incredible, like there's mouths coming out of the walls. What was it like working with the man?
Oh, so funny enough, we just held a re-release. It's making its way around the film festivals in a big way. I just went back to Los Angeles about 6 weeks ago for the screening, and we re-screened it on the big screen. And Stephen was there, and Lottie Vanchansky, who is one of the cinematographer, and Jerry Steiner, the writer. And just to see the film 30 years later so well received in such a you know, it's a, I mean, you know the film, but to see it again after 30 years on the big screen in all its color and all its glory, no better person have I ever worked with. I love Steven Sayedian. He is a visionary, and he's back at it making new films, and I can't wait to see what he comes up with next.
Great, that's awesome. Transitioning now to your current career, you're actually a stunt woman. What
I
made you transition into this field of work?
Well, interestingly, the girl who doubled me on Blood Games, my stunt double Sherry Tash, when she was doing my action, I was jealous. I was like, I want to do my own action. And just watching the stunt people at work, and I was just like, I want to do that. So I ended up started training martial arts, and my martial arts is Kung Fu, One Hop Kendo Kung Fu. And I started training martial arts, and then I auditioned for the Conan the Barbarian live show at Universal Studios, and I ended up getting that. And then just from training martial arts and having I wanted a different direction in my film career. I wanted to be more action oriented. And if my agents weren't going to put me up for things that were more action oriented, I was going to create that path myself. So that ended up segueing me into, I went to racing school, started training race car driving, and I just did everything I can. And I ended up making this seamless transition from acting into stunts, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful career. I literally just got off set about an hour or so ago working here on Magnum PI in Hawaii, and it's just been a great career path for a woman that I'm truly proud of.
Do you happen to remember the first stunt that you ever did?
I do. I worked for, it was on the TV series Lois and Clark, and it was the pilot episode. And Superman was going to stop a bus that was out of control. And then when he puts out his hand and he stops the bus, everybody in the bus, which was me, one of the passengers, we just go ass over tea kettle all over the bus. And so it was my first big bodily wreck, and it was great. And I was hooked from that moment on, and that's been over a span of about 27 years now.
Great. And what is the most dangerous stunt you've performed?
It's interesting. It's not like it's what was the most. It's like sometimes some of the simplest things that you have worked out can become the most dangerous. I mean, I've done everything from, you when you're throwing yourself downstairs or out of moving cars or getting blown up by explosions. I mean, when I was doubling Cameron Diaz on Charlie's Angels, we had a 100-foot explosion behind us. A couple of my girls that went with me off the tower got burned. I mean, they all have their element of danger, which is why we call it the X factor, which is why the actresses don't do their own stunts. Um, but they all bite you. I mean, I have scars on the side of my face here from the movie Speed 2. I was flown in a Learjet to a trauma center. I mean, we take our hits. It's a dangerous game, but it makes you know that you're alive.
Yeah. And can I ask, like, so far, what has been the proudest moment of your career?
Wow. Honestly, to be honest, I don't know. I've had so many, and I feel so lucky and so blessed. I mean, to be sitting here with you right now, to be discussing a film that is still, having life breathed into it, and then the opportunity to sit here and talk about it. I mean, that in itself is a great honor, and I'm truly honored to be here and grateful for you guys liking the film, and you know, it's just. I think with every growth, I was a stunt coordinator on the TV series Shameless for 2 years, and that's quite an accomplishment for a stunt woman. Um, all my modeling, everything. I feel I can't single anything out because I feel blessed. Ah, so cute. I feel blessed with everything I've done. I feel each thing has been.
Yeah.
It just I mean, here we are,
Yeah.
and it's still going. So I can't single anything out. I'm just truly grateful.
Mm. Working on these films like, Dr. Caligari and Blood Games, while you were making them, did you ever feel like that they would have this kind of impact, down the line? It's, yeah,
No, no, Dr. Caligari got a lot of play around the United States and worldwide for at least a solid year. Like there was in the New Art Theater in Santa Monica, California, Rocky Horror Picture Show would play on Friday night, and my movie played on Saturday night, Dr. Caligari, for like a year. So, you get excited that you have such a little cult following and a cult thing, but never did I imagine that 30 years later, either of my movies would be having any traction or life breathed into them at all. So it's quite a giggle. I'm super enjoying it.
well, for any potential stunt women out there, what advice can you give them to start off on the right foot?
Train, practice, make yourself well-rounded. Whether you come from a gymnastics background or a martial art background or motorcycle background, just do everything you can to train, 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 to build your talent, build your skills, and get ready for action.
Great. Thank you. What a send off. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for joining us. And yeah, great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good sleep.
Thanks. Go to bed.
Yeah, go to bed. All right.